Hello, and welcome to Politics of Southeast Europe, the seminar. We have a few recordings to begin our first session this week. This week is not going to be a very heavy session. I am going to introduce what we're going to be doing in the seminar, give you an overview of the requirements. When we get to the discussion and seminar period, then we'll have some time to go over and answer some questions, and we'll also be making the presentation for schedules. So why don't we begin by looking at first the basics. First of all, when do we meet? Our time is divided. We have a 2-hour session, of which 1 hour will be live. So theoretically, we're meeting between 4 and 6 on Mondays. We'll have about an hour of material for you each day, each week. That will be recorded material, lectures with slides like this, sometimes a different kind of material. Those will always be posted in advance of the day of the seminar, and you will be able to review them at your leisure. And then during the second hour, 5 o'clock to 6 o'clock, that is our live session. We have Zoom meetings that you will find. There is a link to a Zoom meeting for each week on the course webpage. Follow that, and at those meetings we will hear the presentations of the material from students, and we'll have discussion of the material. What other things do you need to know? The seminar coordinator is me, Eric Gordy. You can see on the slide there an email address and a telephone number. I have office hours every Tuesday from 2 to 4, although chances are it's unlikely I'll be in my office. However, you can reach me during that time using the software, Microsoft Teams, or if you telephone my office number, that will forward the call to Microsoft Teams, and I'll be able to talk to you that way. What are the requirements for the course? We have 2 types of assessment. First of all, the summative assessment, that is material on which you receive a mark, is an essay of 3,000 words. That's due on February 4th. Of the coming year. And the other type of assessment is summative assessment. This is work we do that we discuss, but that does not receive a mark. And those will be the presentations made each week by participants in the seminar. If you have materials to distribute, we'll ask you to make those available for distribution on the Friday before the seminar. And then we'll ask you to speak for not longer than 10 minutes to summarize the material and lead a discussion on the material during our live session that begins at 5 o'clock on Monday. Now, what will the essays be about and what will the presentations be about? If you take a look at the webpage for the seminar on Moodle, you'll find that each week, in addition to the readings that are listed and the link to the live Zoom meeting, there's a little section called Suggested Topics with some general questions related to the topic. For most people, most of the time, those are going to be the topics on which I ask you to do the presentations, and you'll be choosing from among those topics for your essays. For the essays, they are suggested, not required topics. You can write your essay on something else, and in that case, my suggestion is that you consult with me. What are the topics that we're going to cover in the seminar? A lot of the standard topics that have to do with politics of Southeast Europe since 1990 have to do with the decline of Yugoslavia, the emergence of so-called national states after the decline of Yugoslavia, and together with that, the question of nationalism and violence. We will be dealing with those topics, especially in the first few weeks, but we will also be trying to move beyond them and to talk about post-conflict environments and some of the problems unique to post-conflict environments, to talk about how politics and the social environment are changing in Southeast Europe over the course of the last several decades, to talk about the relations between the states of Southeast Europe and the core of Europe, the European Union, and other influential international actors, including Russia, China, more and more Turkey, and the Middle Eastern states, and to look at changes in political culture and society and the emergence of new forms of activity in Southeast European states. So we're going to try to get from the moment where most of the interest in the region begins, that is with the conflicts of the 1990s, and bring understanding up to the present day. You will find the topics explained in detail and the readings and suggested discussion and presentation topics and essay topics. For all of those things, as well as an explanation of the course, on the seminar webpage, which is on Moodle, there is a link to the page in the topic section there in the corner, and all of the material should be provided there. Monitor the web page closely, because when there are changes, when I find interesting pieces of research, I will add them to the readings. When new questions emerge, I will add them to the suggested topics and questions. So think of the seminar webpage as a living and changing resource. And finally, a word about the topics that we're approaching, and that is that a lot of these topics are topics of current political interest for people from the region or with relations to the region. They are objects of permanent interest, and some of the topics that we talk about are topics that are very hotly disputed. That is to say, we are going to be entering into some controversy. You deal with an area that is under a lot of popular discussion for a while. You become accustomed to controversy. The way that I want to try to approach it is to take the approach that any kind of political stance or position or orientation is acceptable, but that the core of discussion is the ways in which research can inform and question different types of positions. That is to say, we will be discussing current and often hotly contested political topics in the region in the seminar, but we will be doing them in the style of a seminar, and political fights or fundamental disagreements about stances. This is something that's better left for another type of discussion. So this is probably the core. If there is any reason that people listen to people engaged in scholarship, it's because they trust that we have something to present that is based on research. That is not an opinion, and I hope that we'll be making good on that. So that is the introductory material for the seminar. When we move on, I will talk a bit more about some of the topics in the course, some of the goals of the seminar, and then we'll move on, and I'll have a bit to say about background.